Hi, and welcome to Talking Cars. I'm Jennifer Stockberger.
I'm Alex Nizick.
And I'm John Lincove.
So today we are beginning with our first impressions of the 2022 Audi A3, the entry-level Audi, if you will. And according to my source, John Lincove, this is the fourth generation of the Audi A3, but only the third generation available to us here in the United States. And John, as a former Audi owner, I am going to go to you first. Okay. First impressions of the 2022 A3.
It's a sporty little car, automatic transmission only, which, like previous generations. So having just come out of the Volkswagen GTI that we had, kind of hoping it would be a stick or that Audi would have offered a stick in the country. But no. Well, I owned a 1996 Audi A4, which is in Audi parlance the B5 body style or generation. This is almost in the previous generation A3 as well, almost the exact same size as my A4 was. So what's so interesting is that the A3 is a smaller one, the subcompact or entry level luxury versus the small to midsize. It's a big car for what it is, being the introductory level one. You definitely see where the costs are cut, and it's kind of that great poster child, whatever, for entry level luxury doesn't do luxury particularly well. The plastics are hard in spots. Some features aren't there.
It's not that quiet.
It's not that quiet. Alex, thank you for saying that. That engine has the typical Volkswagen Audi agricultural sound for the four cylinders. Definitely farm equipment sounding.
Do you guys think it sounds diesel-like to me when you're on the throttle?
Yeah,
I said to my husband, it sounds more like a diesel than some diesels.
Yeah,
and then they have it hooked up to that DCT, which is a little clunky and kind of awkward.
Right.
So the whole thing is kind of not, smoothness, quietness, some of these words that you think of with luxury, and it's just not quite hitting that mark.
And
I like that word,
sporty.
agricultural. It's agricultural. That's a great word. Yeah, go ahead.
All that doesn't come with like super sportiness. You'd have to move up to an S3 or an RS3 for super sportiness. Right. So you're just kind of like, it's got the wireless CarPlay, Apple CarPlay and such, and very nice. It's got a lot of the features, but it's hard to make an argument for that over a very high level midsize sedan. Yes. That's in a more premium trim line for me at least, and I like them. Look at the posters on the back and my ex ownership. I do enjoy the quality of the materials in most Audis and the driving experience and the cabin and the design. This one's so far.
Yeah, Alex.
Yeah, I struggle with this entry level luxury class a little bit, just like we were alluding to there and talking about. I'm a little more convinced after driving the A3 than the recent competition, the A-Class and the BMW 2 Series, which, these are front-wheel drive German luxury sedans, so direct competitor to this. And they're fine, but I was definitely underwhelmed by both of those, and I think still a little underwhelmed here with the Audi, but I liked it a little bit more than those. I'll say that just on first impression. I liked how it drove, was probably the best thing. I did enjoy driving it, turns well, it handles well. Ours does have this sport suspension, so it's a little bit lower than the standard car, a little stiffer. I don't think it compromises ride quality too much. I liked how it drove. But it, when you start really poking through things and looking at the details, it doesn't quite hold up to that luxury mindset that you might have going for a car like this. And let's just even look at the Golf R. Go into VW's own portfolio, and I know they're totally different cars. One's way faster, but our Audi A3 that we're talking about cost $43,000 with a couple options. It's not even the top level. All-wheel drive. You can get a Golf R for the same cost, and even if you didn't care about the power, it is more practical. It has more features like cooled seats and heated steering wheel, which the Audi doesn't have, and it does some other things not as well. But point being, you can get a lot more car if you go with a lower tier brand, if you want to put it that way.
Yeah, and I agree. We've always said load up a lower non-luxury nameplate loaded and get more car than you would with this entry level. With that said, I really liked this car. And I think I really like, as I go back in cars that I really like the way Audi balances ride and handling and powertrain.
Yeah, it's nice.
For me, I like it a little bit on the little bit sportier side, but not to the BMW level. I don't mind a little impact harshness, which this has to your suspension point. I was on expansion joints on a bridge. Know when you were hitting them. I'm okay with that because it's very short-lived. It's the impact. You hit it, but it doesn't unsettle the body, if you will.
It handles it in a premium way, right? It handles it well. It doesn't crash over bumps like a cheaper car or something like that. So
it transmits it a little.
Yes.
Right.
But
it's
not
firm,
overly.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yep.
Yeah, so I like that. And I think if you want that luxury nameplate, again, $40,000, you're going to be happy in this A3, both in size, powertrain, handling. The big stuff this car does really well. The diesel-like sound, I noted. One of the changes to this model was in the infotainment. I go back to Audi's original MMI, that multimedia interface knob. They've come a long way. I found even the monostable little lever gear selector, straightforward, more straightforward.
Well,
so I have two old people comments, so be ready. One is, you talked about the lower stance. Getting in and out, it has a very high cushion bolster to kind of settle your butt in that cushion to get out, and then a wide sill. It can be, my husband's a little older than I am, and he was like, this is a young person's car. That was his grumpy voice, but he was like this. And the other young person thing is, it seems to be a VW Audi thing that the infotainment selections are just all very tiny. And there's a lot of real estate there. There's a lot of blank space. The clock, very tiny little selections, but then all of this space around it. Even the gear selector area in the console, there's a lot of real estate there that I feel like they could have accommodated my old eyes and made those buttons a little bigger. I
wonder if some of that is it just doesn't quite look as premium, if you will, if they make like the icons huge and the text, even though everybody that would agree most likely that it's easier to read, easier to touch while you're driving around, but it just looks more sleek if you kind of make things slim and small and discreet.
Not a jitterbug cell phone version of labels and buttons. You got want something sleek. Yep.
Am I getting there? I don't have a jitterbug yet, but it's coming.
Kind of like it's funny, the point you made about getting in and out, but also Alex talking about the competitors from BMW and Mercedes. What is nice is that while it's sleek, it's not a coupified car.
Right.
It does have headroom and in
the front.
In the front, yeah, and the rear is small. It's again my 10 and 12-year-old children fit fine. I wouldn't want to put myself
back there.
You're not going to sit behind me. My wife's not going to sit behind me. For a while. That's like the interesting thing also with the infotainment system is that you say like Audi finally got it right, and then across the hall at Volkswagen, they're like, "Oh, hold my beer, let me show you bad." With their system, which is just all over the place. So hopefully we stay with this Audi infotainment system for a while, and they don't get the other one forced down on them.
Yeah,
they did take one thing. They did take one thing from that Volkswagen system is it does have physical climate controls, thankfully.
Yep.
But for some reason, these toggles in the middle row, they have no backlighting.
Yeah.
There is a little screen above them so
true.
You can see the numbers, but still, the toggles themselves have no symbols, nothing, and there's no lights. So
you can see where they are, but you got to
you'll figure it out, but it's just why.
You set it and forget it. It's like the Ronco or something. I don't know.
Hit the auto button, forget. I don't know.
And you don't touch it ever again because you're supposed to be focused on driving.
Yeah. The other thing too, and I think we'd be remiss in saying it because I always try to apply it to my world, is this time of year, I need all-wheel drive. You think about that Quattro. If you're looking for a fun sedan for the other, 9 months of the year, but you need that Quattro, it's really well done. They've been doing it for a long time. You think of the Subarus and the Audis that have had that all-wheel drive system for a long, long time. And it's a nice sedan if you need an all-wheel drive vehicle in the winter months.
That's a great point.
Yeah,
it is optional on the A3 too. So just if you are looking at one, keep that in mind. Most Audis are coming, standard with all-wheel drive, but you got to make sure you tick that box with the A3.
And there's not wheel slip with this. I mean, I've been driving our Pathfinder for a week or so, and just pulling out in traffic or even on dryish pavement, you can tell it's front-wheel drive, and then it kicks it to the rear when there's slip. You don't feel a slip with this system.
To my point, I think Audi does Quattro very, very well.
Yeah.
I have a styling question for you guys. This has, again, not rated, but I really like the black emblem dark car. I really like black on black on black, black wheels, black emblems, dark paint. We have a navy blue A3 with that black Audi symbol. Do you guys like that? I very much like that.
It works for me. I'm just definitely not a overly chrome person. And I know people know that I grew up with Corvettes and stuff like that, and there is a trend with Corvette to have like chrome wheels and chrome, and people chrome their engine and like,
too much shiny.
So I'm good with the black optics.
Yeah, I'm into it. I do wonder though, if you are springing for the entry level Audi, would you want to black out the badges or keep them, more prominent? But I think visually it looks pretty nice.
I think it looks nice too, like that understated elegance type of thing. Yeah, I really like it. So anyway, we of course will fully evaluating this car over the next few months. We'll have all the nitty gritty details coming up, but that is our first take on the 2022 Audi A3. So going to your question of the week, we always enjoy them, talkingcars@icloud.com, be it written, text, video. We happen to have a video this week from Kyle in Raytown, Missouri. Kyle, what do you got?
Hey, Talking Cars. I had a question about tire pressure. I've heard, I'm not really sure where from, but I've heard that in the winter with, when you're driving in the snow or whatever, that you can lower your tire pressure a pound or two, and that'll give you better traction. I feel like that makes sense, but I also don't know if that's a good idea or not. So just wanted to hear your guys' thoughts.
So, I'm putting on my tire hat for a minute to answer Kyle. I don't know about you. The only thing I could think of where Kyle may have seen that you would want to reduce inflation pressure for snow is very similar to what you would do if you were going through sand. If you are in deep, soft snow and you want to stay up on it, the word they use is flotation, much like you would want to do if you were going over a beach or off-roading in a sandy area. You would lower inflation pressure to kind of spread that contact patch out so you float up on top. That is not, Kyle, what people typically want to do in snow. What you want to do in snow is kind of dig in, get to the grippier surface underneath, typically allow, particularly with winter tires, the edges of the tread elements to bite. So digging and biting are mostly what you want to do in snow. And for that, you should be leaving inflation pressure right where the vehicle manufacturer put it. They are designing the mass of that vehicle around that tire size, optimizing that contact patch. And you think of lowering inflation pressure, you're probably sacrificing handling, you're hurting fuel economy if you continue to drive around like that in an area that isn't nice, soft snow that you're trying not to dig through to get to the body. I don't know, Alex or John, if you had any other thoughts, but my answer was, Kyle, leave it alone where it should be.
You're spot on. I mean, lowering the tire pressure, regardless of your scenario, is going to enlarge that contact patch. But like you said, that's not advantageous most of the time on a road where there might be snow, but underneath is the surface that you truly want to be grabbing with the tire. So plus, if you did that, you like to your second point there about sacrificing other things, you would theoretically want to reinflate your tires after you've gone over whatever challenge you have there. So that's not really practical. But something I want to add is that in cold temperatures, your tire pressure will drop on its own just due to
right.
So the rule of thumb is 1 to 2 pounds, 1% for every 10 degrees Fahrenheit that the temperature drops. So
1 psi. 1 psi for every 10 degrees. Yep.
Yep. So 1 psi for every 10 degrees. So you dropping it only 1 to 2, like you suggest, you might be having a more effect just due to the ambient temperature alone. And you'll actually see, and I dug one up today. I just opened the first owner's manual that I found in my downloads folder on my computer. And sure enough, if you go in there, some manufacturers recommend actually adding a couple pounds if it's cold enough outside to compensate for that. So, just keep that in mind and check your tire pressure.
Yeah, and again, Kyle, you may have heard it if someone was hooting around in some deeper snow, but typically leave it alone. You know, I think of when we go to Martha's Vineyard, they have the lower your inflation here as because you can do an over sand permit, but they also have air stations for when you come off the beach to put them back, to your point. So great question, Kyle. We love everybody's questions. Keep them coming, talkingcars@icloud.com, and hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.